Next item up is invite up the Stikatirangi Areas residents, or the STAR group, with Theobald, Tony, and I think Rachel and Catherine are coming up to support, and I just want to acknowledge the support of the group behind, so great to have you here. And I think there's a presentation being sent out, so Tony and Theobald, all yours.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Chair, for allowing us to speak today. We, Thibaut Bojo and Tony Profit, are speaking on behalf of all road reserve impacted property owners in the wider Auckland region, and take this opportunity to ask for your agreement to a positive funding solution to repair the storm damage on Auckland Council-owned road reserve. We are to share the STAR Group response to the committee paper and recommendation presented to you on this matter today. Our primary purpose is to seek your agreement to fund the road reserve remediation so that impacted residents and ratepayers in Tamaki Makaurau can move on with their lives. There are around 30 to 40 non-private properties impacted by storm damage to Auckland Council adjacent road reserve. Homeowners have been stuck for nearly 2 years, unable to progress road reserve remediation. We need immediate and concrete steps to come from this meeting.
These families have no access to any help. They have no access to Category 2 or 3 help, EQC or insurance for the road reserve land. Banks will not loan for road reserve remediation, and even if loan criteria was extended, most cannot service this level of debt. They are faced with much higher consenting and compliance costs, including ongoing compliance costs. Capital work costs range from $50,000 to $500,000 with an average of $173,000. This is out of reach for homeowners. The committee paper is careful to point out that the council should not be funding any repairs to private owned land or assets. This is something that the STAR Group has never requested. Property owners need to take responsibility for their own land. This will be at a significant cost in addition to the cost set out above. These are special circumstances and require a special response. The damaged land does not belong to the homeowners. These slips have happened on council-owned road reserve land, and this means, as we've highlighted today, there is no access to any of the usual ways homeowners would remediate storm damage. The STAR Group's view remains that this is Auckland Council land and Auckland Council should repair it. Therefore, we favour option B, that the road reserve repairs are undertaken by Auckland Transport. The reality is that fixing the road reserve slips will also benefit the road network by helping support and protect it from future slips. Our request is actually a win-win for the homeowners and the council and AT. However, in the event this is not agreed, we seek the following minimum agreements. We strongly endorse that the $5 million available funding be committed to the road reserve remediation. As these funds are from the North Island Weather Events Storm Recovery Budget, the use of the funding for the purpose is entirely aligned with the original intent of that funding. Further, in the event that the Auckland Transport makes additional efficiency, we also request that the additional surplus from the fund is committed to the road reserve remediation, if needed to cover the road reserve remediation costs. In addition, we strongly support any efforts to request an equal contribution from the central government. Homeowners have been stuck for nearly 2 years, unable to progress. We need immediate and concrete steps to come from this meeting. The intention should be to fully fund the road reserve mediations, if at all possible, once the actual size of the cost is known. The application process should be open to all property owners impacted by slips in the road reserve issue, and not just those with access issues. If the solution was limited to those with access issues, only 50% of the impacted residents would have a resolution. All property owners impacted by road reserve slips face the same financial hurdles with no categorisation, bank, EQC or insurance support. not just those with access issues. This money needs to be put to the capital works to repair the land, and this is where the lion's share of the cost lies. The homeowners simply cannot access the funds to do this work otherwise. We cannot limit the funds on offer to be paying for council process only. We support the recommendation to provide case managers and no other financial support and request that these are put in place without delay. This will allow flexibility to find the most efficient and effective solutions that best suit all parties, acknowledging the complexity and differences within the road reserve damage. We hope that the councillors agree on a truly positive outcome for both the impacted residents and the council. We acknowledge that since the last TRIC meeting, everybody has been working hard to find a resolution to the issues raised, and Auckland Council and Auckland Transport have worked collaboratively with the Star Group in trying to find a resolution to this issue. We hope that you can support us by agreeing to the funding and to continue the collaborative process to move forward with urgency.
Thank you for allowing us to speak today on behalf of the Star residents and their families who have been profoundly impacted by Cyclone Gabrielle over 22 months ago. It has been a long and difficult journey for all of us, living with uncertainty, the ongoing challenges, and the emotional toll of knowing that the damage to our home and our lives was not just from the cyclone itself, but from the ripple effect that has continued to affect us day after day. We've worked really hard, side by side with Auckland Council and Auckland Transport, to reach this point. We are now standing at the threshold of a critical decision. It's crunch time. One that will allow us to truly begin the recovery process. This is not just about addressing the physical damage or fixing land and infrastructure. It is about rebuilding our community, our sense of security, and our future. Today is not about playing politics or pushing individual agendas. It is not about division or delay. Today is about doing what is right for the people you represent. The families, the children, the elderly, the vulnerable people who have waited for this moment with hope, grace, and with patience. As the Whakatoki reminds us, e aha te mea nui o te oa. E tangata, e tangata, e tangata. What is the most important thing in the world? It is people. It is people. It is people. And today, we ask you to make a decision that reflects the reality of our community, to prioritize us who have been living in limbo for far too long. Your decision today will allow us to take the first real step towards recovery, not just for the land, but for the families who call it home. We trust that you will make this choice with urgency, the compassion, and the leadership that this situation demands. You have the power to change lives for the better, and we ask that you use that power with the people you serve in hurts. This is a conscience vote. Thank you very much, kia ora, and we are welcome to take questions.
Thank you, Thibault and Tony. Questions? So first one from Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I just know that, can you confirm that you've been talking to Auckland Transport about this issue? Is that correct? Yes.
That's correct. And
right.
We've met with Auckland Transport CEO 2 days ago.
Okay. So I'm interested in the 5 million. Can you confirm that the 5 million isn't new money? It is within existing budget?
Correct, Deputy Mayor. So to our knowledge, Auckland Transport has been allocated 390 million as part of the storm recovery effort to repair local road network. They've started the work. They've already achieved, I believe, as of the 30th of September, 75% of the repair or the sites, and they've spent 61% of their budget. They've been able to forecast that the roughly 200 slip that they need to fix, they will be able to actually save some money from that bucket. And at the moment, the forecast is saying that they will have a $5 million surplus. So that's, in fact, to your question, that's existing money. That's not money on top of what has been allocated.
Okay, so that's $5 million of surplus in the current Auckland Transport budget. Right, thank you.
Yes, can I just add to that? So it's 5 million surplus from the council share, which is 81 million. So that's the forecasted surplus. They have been given permission from NZTA and the Crown partners to use that share.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, I might just pick up on the Deputy Mayor's question and the answers that were helpful. Just any unintended consequences in terms of potential adjustments to the forecast average rates increase. I just want to round out that conversation from there. And I guess another part is I just want to be clear, if Auckland Transport's able to make those savings and kind of ring fence that money within their own budgets, the purpose of coming to this committee, I just want to be clear on why it's coming here and why Auckland Transport can't just make that independent decision. So the rate increase would be for the council officers, yeah.
Councillor, that might be more properly a question when we come to the item for council officers and Auckland Transport staff who are represented here. Not to say that Thibault couldn't comment if he wishes, of course.
Yeah, not our role to answer there, but we understand that it's coming from the local share, and that's a budget that has already been allocated to them. But we understand that they need the support of the councillors to vote in favour, and in their own word, they said they will execute.
Thank you. Richard?
Kia ora, thanks, Chair. And thank you very much for coming here once again and advocating for yourselves and your neighbours so well. My question just was, and it is a crude question, and I know it's difficult to answer because there's 60-odd examples, but what are the brief types of examples that aren't access issues? Just because I'm thinking of how many issues are also in our public reserves and stormwater reserves. So what kind of risks are there if they're not access?
It's pretty simple. We're talking about the stability of land. The first instance, I think that's pretty clear. There's access issues where people need access to their homes. That stability is also threatening people's homes. And then there's just private property. And again, we remind you that this land is adjoining to the road network too.
And the last question, and I don't know how this will all shake out through this case management process, but when you say fixing the public land, we're not asking to fund private, do you mean that Auckland Transport would fix it to a level where then you could put your own private asset on it, or would it be the expectation that AT would be completing both sides of that?
No, so to give you a clear example to your first question that relates to your second question, there is land that's on the side of the road that's undermining the dwelling above that land. That land is Auckland Transport land or Auckland Council owned land, yeah? So on that land, there is damage on the road reserve and there is damage above that, which is above the property boundary, right? So what we are all asking for is that Auckland Transport and Auckland Council fix their road reserve, make it safe, and then actually the property owner will be able to then do the fix that needs to be done within their boundary. And just to be clear, we are not asking for that to be paid with public money. That will be funded by the owner of the house and with the support of, in some instance, EQC or private insurance. Yeah.
I think that's quite clear.
I'll add to that because I think what you're pointing to is how this issue has been presented and it continually is presented as funding for private assets and the repair of private assets. That's not the case. There's actually the repair of the road reserve land, and we need that. There's more than often, we know that we will then put the driveway on top of that, but we are not asking for money to repair private assets. We're just asking for the road reserve land to be repaired. Then we will fund and repair our private property.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joe?
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear what you're asking. You're just asking us to do our job and fix our own assets, which is affecting your property. So I just wanted to know, what option did you want us to support again, please?
So, thank you, Councillor, for your kind words. In the options that have been presented, each of the options have pros and cons. The most favorable option is option B, and that's the one that we recommend to look at. Actually, today, we don't think, all the criteria need to be decided. We would recommend that we keep working as a collective, community, Auckland Transport, Auckland Council, to make sure that those criteria are defined. That's why we are recommending actually an application process to make sure that adjacent property owner can apply to enter in the program. But the first step today is to be able to have the ability to have some kind of funding and commitment that there is a program in place that will go and help fix capital towards capital work, so fix the land. That's the first step. And then all the details, we rely on the Council, Auckland Transport. We are happy to keep supporting, and that's what we've done since the beginning, to provide feedbacks. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Any further questions? Thanks, Chris. Ken, you want a second? Okay, no further questions. We just want to thank you, as always, organised and articulate. So thank you very much for taking the time to come along. So it's been moved and seconded. Vote of thanks. Those in favour say aye. And against? Carried. Thanks, team. We have no more items of public input. We do have one item of local board input, and it is from the Waitakere Rangers Local Board. And so welcome online, Chair Greg Preslin. Good morning. Hand over to you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, councillors. Just checking audio is fine?
Perfect.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. With me is Deputy Chair Michelle Clayton and the rest of the board online watching. We've all taken a very keen interest in this. So I wish to speak on the Road Reserve Fund agenda proposal, which is in your agenda. The local board has taken a major interest in issues relating to storm damage caused by the two storms last year. Our area, particularly Titirangi, Piha, Karikari and Tahinga, have borne the brunt of the effects of the storm. Previously, we advocated for full remission of rates for affected properties, and we thank Council for doing that. I note the buyback scheme is proceeding. I personally know a few families who are very grateful that they have been able to extricate themselves from difficult situations, but some families are still caught up by the effects of the storm, particularly those whose properties were affected by slips that are adjacent to their properties. EQC can't help them, their insurance company won't help them, but they're caught in a situation where their lives are on hold through circumstances beyond their control. If I could comment on the paper, it presents a cautious and understandable approach to the issue. I accept that the impacts of natural hazards on private property are considered normally to be a private responsibility, but insuring against loss and protection from serious harm, which are covered by the buyback scheme, could also be considered to be a private responsibility. And I'd like to suggest that creating a fund to help people with landslips would not necessarily create a precedent. If this was the case, then the buyback scheme itself could be considered to be creating a precedent. And I've always regarded that as being a discrete decision of council to affect affected citizens. With the ongoing threats of supersized storms because of climate change, I'm afraid these damaging storms will become more and more common. And council may reach a stage in the future where it decides it cannot provide any further assistance to citizens affected. And that's why the country needs a national adaptation plan and a climate adaptation fund. They're vital, and clearly that needs to be done by central government. But for now, we have a situation where one group, homeowners with safety threats, are being offered assistance, but another group, homeowners with degraded access to their property, are not. And I would like to suggest that that distinction is an anomaly and one that I believe needs to be addressed. The scheme generally is to help our neighbours move on from traumatic and dramatic event and get on with their lives, but there are some who, because of an administrative distinction, are prevented from doing so. I note the cautious suggestion that $5 million be set aside, and I understand this will be discussed by councillors. The local board fully supports the creation of this fund, and in terms of its expenditure, we believe it's logical for AT to be the ones to spend the money, but that's for further discussion. We don't believe this creates a precedent, and in some situations, for instance, a slip on Pataroa Road in Titirangi, we consider that there is a benefit for council funding this work so that a stability compromised area is strengthened so that no future slips can occur. Up on screen, I've asked Section 8 of the Waitaki Ranges Heritage Area Act to be placed. The Heritage Area Act recognises that we live in a special area, and it requires us as council to protect and restore and enhance a beautiful yet fragile area. Council is required to restore and enhance degraded landscapes, and it's also required to recognise that people live and work in the area in distinct communities, and to enable those people to provide for their social, economic, environmental and cultural well-being. We believe that assisting affected residents, as is suggested in the paper, is a logical extension of council fulfilling its objectives under the Act. We fully support the creation of the fund, and we also believe that the case management service could be of assistance to locals and support that as well. Those are my comments. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions? None. Well done. That's a sign of a good presentation, probably. But thank you, Greg, and appreciate the local board's interest and commentary on this. Someone like to move a vote of thanks? Thanks, Greg. Seconder, Ken. Those in favour say aye, and against, carried. Thanks, team.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, councillors.
Next item, we have no extraordinary items, so we move on to item 8, and that is NZTA update. And so welcome up Steve Mutton.